Hey, how's it going, everybody? This is Brandon with Real Talk. Hey, Michael, how's it going?
Hey, what's going on, man? How are you? How was your weekend?
I think I did one thing over the weekend that was fun outside of work.
Oh
I
man,
never,
come
I
on.
don't have a life, man. I don't have a life.
Well,
I'm a
you
prisoner
got to
of
have
work.
friends to have a life.
Well, that's true, man. That's why I'm paying you every week for you to come talk to me because I have
Oh,
no
got it.
friends.
Oh, I'm not getting that check. That's too bad. But we went kayaking.
Yeah, nice.
We had a great really nice on Sunday morning. We went to Shingle Creek. It's actually the, what do they call it? The geez Louise, I just blanked on what it's called. Where, it's the headwaters of the Everglades. But it's
Uh,
about 15 minutes from my house, and it's just, I mean, it's so freaking gorgeous. Really, really
nice.
beautiful.
Didn't get eaten by any gators or anything over there, man. You're down in Florida.
I did not, but it was fairly. We go early in the morning when we go kayaking because, I mean, it's hot as heck here. A little later in
Right.
the day this time of year, so we tend to go early. Like, we'll get there at 7, maybe 7:30, and we're out of the water by 11 o'clock at the latest, usually earlier. And so gators are not necessarily up and running at that hour. They're kind of chilling and sort of floating around maybe, or even underwater. And so you can see, like, when the water's calm, you see this little stream of bubbles. And sometimes it's
Uh,
moving, and they'll take, I mean, I don't know the real actual numbers, but they'll take, you know, 20 minutes to exhale, right? So they'll be
really?
sitting on the bottom, with the, because they breathe air, obviously, right? So they have full breath of air. They'll be sitting on the bottom, and then little tiny bubbles. You'll see little tiny bubbles coming up, and it's an alligator exhaling before coming up to take a breath.
Really?
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So you see that, and you're like, okay, Rosie's like, hey man, let's go the other way, right? And I'm like, no, let's go towards that. So different perspectives.
Right. Yeah,
So
cool,
there you
man.
go.
Last time we talked, you were at a fam show down there in Florida. I think we were running out of time last week to get into some items. So I think you were talking about possible some rates of different things possibly working their
Yeah,
way down.
rates are kind of, there's two things, realist in general, mortgage rates, and for, anybody in the audience who doesn't necessarily know this, and it's not common knowledge, people think rates come from the Fed, right? Oh, the Fed's going to cut rates, mortgage rates are going to go down. The Fed raises rates, mortgage rates went up. That is not the case. When the
Right.
Fed moves rates, what they're moving is the overnight rate. It's called the Fed funds rate. And what they're doing is, that's one of the dials that the Fed has to kind of influence the economy. And they have two monetary policy dials. One is
Mm-hmm.
the short-term cost of funds, and the other is what we call quantitative easing or quantitative tightening. And it's when, you've heard those terms, everybody kind of has, but not everybody, most people don't know what they mean. Quantitative
Right.
easing basically means that they're shredding less money and printing more money. Quantitative tightening means they're shredding more money and printing less money. And so, when you're in a cycle where inflation, like now, inflation is through the roof, well, they're trying to take extra money out of circulation, right? To
Mm-hmm.
reduce inflationary pressures. So one dial is the Fed funds rate. So they crank that up, increase the Fed funds rate to control inflation. The other dial is print less money in the basement of the White House, or wherever the heck they print it, right? In order to get some of the money out of circulation, because a certain number of bills are shredded, every year. And so those are ways they're controlling inflation. Inflation is the biggest impact on mortgage rates. When inflation is high, mortgage rates are high. And just think of it this way. If I said, hey, Brandon, can I borrow $1,000? I'll pay you back tomorrow. I'll give you $100 profit. Give me 1,000. I'll give you 1,100 tomorrow. Not a bad deal, right?
Right.
Most people, if they have it and they trust that, that it'll get paid back and all those sort of things, they might think, okay, that's not a bad business endeavor. I'm certainly not going to earn
Right.
$100 on 1,000 overnight. Now, what happens if I said, hey, Brandon, give me 1,000. I'm going to pay you back 100, so I'll pay you $1,100 back in 10 years. Why
Okay.
would we not want to do that? We wouldn't want to do that because the inflation, inflation impacts the value of that $1,000. What you can buy for $1,000 today, in 10 years, we assume you'll be buying less.
Right.
Right. So over the course of that 10 years, that $100 profit doesn't offset the cost of our funds. So if you think about a mortgage, I'm going to take a 30-year mortgage at 7% for $300,000. Well, they know that mortgage is statistically probably going to be around for about 7 years. And that's
Okay.
just not a good return on that money at 7%, when the interest rates, when the inflation is really high. So they have to see inflation under control, they being Wall Street. Mortgages are basically open market. It comes from mortgage-backed securities, which is a form of bond. So the long way of saying that is the vibe, and this is all freaking smoke and mirrors, dude. Nobody knows what the hell is going to happen. Really, nobody knows, right? Can you predict what's going to happen in the stock market in 3 weeks? Not a freaking clue.
No.
I wouldn't even want to guess. I wouldn't even want to guess. So it's the same with the bond market. But the vibe is that inflation appears to be getting under control. There's some good reports. There's some good data coming out. And as that starts to improve, you're going to see mortgage rates start to head down, right? Because there's less risk for bond traders on these long-term, mortgage-backed securities. So, we're going to see, and one of the indicators that things are getting better with inflation is the Fed happens to lower the Fed funds rate, right? So the Fed's lowering the Fed funds rate is not what is causing mortgage rates to move down. It's the same things that are improving mortgage rates are going to say, the Fed's going to say, yeah, it looks like we can start to lighten up a little bit because we're starting to get some improvement. So
Right.
those are things that are happening. And if I had a crystal ball, I'd say, you're going to see better rates coming in the spring of next year, starting to move. It's starting to improve a little bit now,
Yeah.
but it's,
Well,
knows?
since you're saying all this, it's them saying, oh, well, the Fed is doing this and doing that to adjust the rates. And that's the public image, the sales pitch. Seems like it's politically driven then. So, it's election year. So maybe we'll see some dip down, before the election day. Somehow magically something will happen.
And those are absolutely things that happen, it all is connected.
Yeah.
Let me get my tinfoil hat on, man.
Oh yeah, man.
Now we're going to talk conspiracy shit, right?
Yeah, it was I actually saw, somebody posted something and it drove me down to read an article about, talking about this inflation, printing money and everything. If you look at it, like the top nations in the world, even the top 15 nations in the world, like year over year have like drastically increased their production of currency. Like
Right.
we've done it, China's done
Which
it, UK's done it
devalues,
also. Yeah. And so, this whole inflation piece and like it's mind blowing because you always see like you wonder like, okay, well, if a company just keeps making money, like more profit, more revenue year over year, how are they creating so much revenue? Like where does this money come from?
Right.
Well, it comes
especially
from the government.
you picture some of these stocks that are, stocks that have gone up, 50% over X amount of time. But if you look, the company is substantively the same size.
Yeah.
The company's profitability is substantively the same.
It's wild.
So
man.
like I said, man, it's smoke and mirrors.
It's wild. That's why, when I was like, man,
it's smoke and mirrors. I mean,
yeah, the more I learn, man, the more I'm going to be a tinfoil hat like you, tinfoil hat wearing guy like you.
that's why I always recommend investing in the 3 B's.
Yeah. What's that?
Beans, bullets, and Band-Aids. But
I think that's, that's all connected to the
That's
So
my
war and
libertarian.
industrial
That's my
complex.
libertarian side coming out, right? Invest in being, but come on, man. You know what? Shelf stable, canned foods,
Yeah. Well, I mean,
bullets.
think of bullets, man. Have you seen the vending machines now that they've come out with? The ammunition vending machines
Yeah,
that they
there's,
have.
yeah.
That's,
Yep.
I mean, it's only logical now that we have technology where you can. I think honestly, these machines are probably more intelligent about identifying people and being able to sell the right people ammunitions versus somebody that has like 2 cents, two brain cells to rub together behind the Walmart counter.
Right. Well, and I would say that probably a lot of times, smaller, smaller gun stores and things like that are selling ammunition, for economic reasons, may be a little fast and loose, you know, because they need the business,
Yeah.
and and listen, again, at the end of the day, unless someone's on, and I don't even want to say a watch list anymore. You know what they're doing in England,
What's that?
dude? I mean, let's talk about the government making decisions about who gets to do or say what. In England,
You talking about Section
um,
5?
there are you can get arrested, and people have been arrested for things they've posted on social media that are not like, I'm going to blow up, a balloon. I add that in just in case someone's really listening to this, right? But they're not. It's not making actual, not making threats for just for what could be perceived as hate speech, meaning, hey, these people that did this and this and this are a problem, you know. And now that, the problem with hate speech, I have a big problem with hate
Oh
speech and
yeah.
making it illegal. I got no problem if somebody's insulting someone else. I got no problem with pop them in the nose. And that's the problem with the internet, with social media, right? Is, people have lost that sense of respect that comes with, being face to face with the person you're talking trash about.
Oh yeah.
But and I had that conversation with somebody recently. But at the same time, when you say hate speech and you make it against the law, here's the problem: whose definition?
Yeah.
You know, uh,
Who's
I have
interpreting
I
that?
have no problem with someone talking trash about a bald guy, but you might say that's hate speech and therefore should be illegal. And who's enforcing that? So now someone makes a bald joke and gets arrested.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
It's
well,
it's
in Canada,
radicalized the
you
whole
can be, and yeah,
Scream Fest.
and I don't know if it's true or not. I don't know if it's still true or not. There was something pending in Canada legislatively that misgendering someone
Oh
is
jeez.
considered hate speech and can be grounds for arrest.
All
I
right, I'm
mean,
taking a trip to Canada. I'm going to test
mm,
this system.
test that out, man. But listen, I'm a big believer, and
Oh man.
I mean, you probably know this, but a lot of people maybe don't. On our, if they're dialing in for the first time or something. But you know, hey, listen, Florida, same-sex marriages are legal, and I've performed same-sex wedding.
Mhm.
As a notary in Florida, you can perform weddings, and I'm proud to have done that. I have zero problem with somebody living the life they choosing
Mhm.
whatever. I don't care. I mean, as long as it's consensual, all parties involved are consenting, and everybody's able to consent, right?
Mhm.
Children and animals can't consent.
Right.
But if everybody's consenting, I don't care what you do. I
Yeah.
mean, that's great, but don't call me bad or evil because I saw someone who looked like something and accidentally referred to them in the wrong context. I mean, oh my goodness. If you
Yeah.
remember, you may be too young, but if you remember Saturday Night Live, which used to be an incredibly funny show, had Pat, the androgynous,
Oh yeah. I
whatever,
remember
and it
that
was like,
guy.
it's Pat. And you never knew if it was a guy or a girl, but it was funny and people laughed, and who freaking
Yeah.
cares?
Oh
You know,
yeah.
live your life. Let other people live their lives, but don't try to force me to act a
Yeah.
certain way. Your
Yeah. I mean,
freedom, your
yeah. That's the
freedom
whole
to
thing.
act,
Is
your
like
freedom of speech ends where my freedom starts.
that's what's that? What that news anchor did one day? It's like, yeah, you can, identify whatever, and then he's like, okay. He's like, well, I want to be a black lesbian. And they're like, well, you
Right.
can't be a
Well,
black
that's
lesbian
ridiculous. Well, that's
because
ridiculous. You're not.
you're not black. And it's like, how do you, okay, so you just, just
Right.
shot yourself in the foot. Like, that's how
Right.
ridiculous this is. So like,
Well,
I
listen,
go,
this has gone
yeah.
on. This has gone on, and this prejudicial type behavior has gone on for as long as I can remember. I remember, so I was enlisted in the Marine Corps. I got, I went to college, and I went to a very small conservative college in Vermont. Almost everybody was going in the military. It was that kind of very small. There's like 700 full-time students at this university,
Oh,
total. Not in the math
wow.
class, in the school. Right? It's very small. And but my girlfriend was up at the University of Vermont, and I remember going up and like getting, talking to people. And I had, obviously I had very short hair, and it was not hard to tell that I was a military guy. And I remember, people being like, well, obviously you're, well, you excluded in some conversation, all these open-minded liberals, right? This is in the 80s. You excluded because obviously you're a racist. I'm like,
Right.
what are you talking about? Actually, quite the opposite. I'm willing to put my life in the hands of a brother, regardless of what color, what religion, what sexual orientation. I don't care, as long as they got my back. What's
Right.
what's less racist than that? Like, I will literally trust my life to somebody, and
Yeah.
have, and I would do the same. I would die or kill for one of those guys, back then. And it wouldn't matter what color. And I saw guys that were best friends, where one kid was, was a black kid from South Central, and his best friend was, a white redneck from Iowa, farm country. And in real life, they probably would have never, ever interacted, but they loved each other
Yeah.
like brothers,
Oh yeah. Well,
So,
that's the thing. It's like too many people have opinions on things. So you need to lighten up, guys. But yeah, so I know we cut it a little short today. Brandon was too busy, and Michael had to throw something at me to get me online. So we'll catch up with everybody next time here on Real Talk. I appreciate you coming in, Michael, as always.
hey, everybody, thanks for being here. And, visit us online. I'm sure the links are in the thing, wherever magical stuff gets posted, wherever it does. But, and reach out. I will tell you this. If you're thinking about buying an investment property or thinking about buying a house, now is the time, because, rates are reasonably high, and that's a good thing. Believe it or not. The reason it's a good thing is because there's still less competition in the market. What's going to happen is when those rates go down, everybody's going to be jumping on properties. It's going to be a feeding frenzy. And when the rates go down, everybody's going to be, all those properties are going to have multiple offers, and they're going to be selling for above asking price. So lock in a low price now, be able to negotiate a little bit with the sellers, and then refinance when the rates go down. And we're happy to help guide you and walk you through that process. That's kind of what we do. The call I have right now is with an investor who's got multiple investment properties, and we're going to talk about portfolio management to free up some capital so she can buy some additional properties right now, because it's the time. This is when the smart investors are buying.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So,
Absolutely, guys. Yeah. Reach out to us. We're here to help you. All right, Michael. I'll
awesome.
let you go,
Peace out.
man. See you later.
All right. Take care. Bye.